Hello you guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. For those of you that don't already know me, my name is Brittany. If you're new here, feel free to leave a like, drop a comment, consider subscribing, because it'd be really cool and it'd help me out quite a lot. Don't be afraid to hit that little notification bell to get notified every single time that I post, because it is very rarely, if ever, a really busy person. A whole lot going on, being a college student, mom, a whole lot of health issues, so it's a bit much. I don't post often because of this, I swear I won't annoy you. But for today's video, I wanted to just make an updated video on how to pass a test. YouTube's real picky about language when it comes to this subject, so I'm gonna censor my language. So if it seems like I'm sort of beating around the bush with certain words, I am. Today's video is gonna be an updated how to pass a test video. It's been a while since I made one of these. I started making them back in, I wanna say 2018, 2019. I was a kid. And I had a whole lot of outdated information in those videos. They're very old, so I wanted to make newer, updated ones for the channel. I'm going to be covering two different types of tests in today's video. First one's going to be monitored testing, and the second one's going to be unmonitored testing. So I will add the timestamps here if I remember to. Please don't hate me if I don't. Someone will add, I'll add them in the comments if I don't remember to add it into the video. So typically the only time that you're going to be monitored for a test is going to be for pretrials or probation or rehab or substance court, or instances like that where you have been deemed to sort of like have a problem with substances, essentially. Not saying that that is the case, but that's usually the circumstances where that happens. Also, other exception would be with military or other federal level positions. Now, typically most jobs that aren't a federal position, they're not going to be monitoring your test. So again, I'll leave the timestamp for those people, which is your average person. So for those of us that are monitored for our testing, your best bet is going to be getting yourself one of these. So this is a 64 ounce 1800 ml water bottle, and it's got times that you can follow. It has like goals for you to hydrate by. You're gonna want to stay hydrated on a regular basis. Now, if you are in one of these programs and you're okay with remaining abstinent from other substances and just sticking to weed, get yourself a card if you're living somewhere where you're able to do that. Let that be my first bit of advice. If you're able to cut back on all substances and just stick with weed, get yourself a card if you live in an area where you're able to do that. Because I was on pretrials and probation and I failed. My charges were for weed. I had a felony charge for weed, for cannabis products. And so that's why I went to pretrials and probation. And I failed every single test, and they couldn't do nothing about it, even though that's what my charges were for, because I got a card. So again, I cannot stress this enough. The amount of money and the amount of trouble and time and energy that you are going to save yourself by just getting a card, even if you're not going to use it. Like, you don't even have to go to the dispensary, because I know, especially in states where it's only legal medically, they tax. So I don't blame you for not actually using the card, but at least have it, so that if you fail the test, you can say, look, I have a medical reason, I'm diagnosed with whatever, and they can't check that. So you can say whatever, qualifying condition you want. Try to be reasonable, though. And, be like, look, I got this card. In most places, you're able to do that, especially, again, because if it's for a disability, then, you've got legal say for being able to fail your test for that substance. Now, if you don't live in an area where you can get a medical card, or if you're using other substances pretty regularly and you're going to be monitored for your test, then you're going to want to stay hydrated constantly with these, and take creatinine and B complex as recommended on the bottle. And of course, talk to your doctor before doing this and make sure that it's safe for you to take those supplements, as directed, of course. But the creatinine and the B complex will help add the yellow color back into your urine, because with you staying so hydrated, they're gonna fail you for a diluted sample, because they're gonna be like, oh, you're just flushing your system to get substances out. You're probably, they will fail you for diluted sample. The creatinine and the B complex will help with the yellow color, but also it helps if they send it out to a lab, which typically they don't send it out to a lab. Most of the time, for both pre-trials and probation, if you go on Amazon, you can look up multi-panel test strips, and they just get those things in bulk off Amazon. And then they do is they watch you go into the cup, and then they just dip the little stick in there, the like multi-panel sticks. So they're not sending it out to a lab most of the time. I'm gonna say that again, most of the time. We're at a lab, they're testing like your pH, like all kind of different levels in your urine to make sure that you're not altering it in any way. So the main thing they're gonna be doing is they're gonna be looking at your stuff, and they're gonna be seeing like if it looks like straight up water in the cup, or if it's obvious that you're trying to dilute your sample so that it will come up as a negative. So again, they're less likely to be failing you for dilute sample, eyeballing your stuff all weird if you're putting that, yellow color back in there. The other thing is maintaining electrolytes. So you're gonna be losing a whole lot of electrolytes by staying that hydrated, especially since if you're doing your weekly random testing, which for most places, like when I was going through pre-trials and probation, especially for probation, I had to call a number from like, I think it was in between the hours of like 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. or something like that. I can't remember. And I had to call every day, like Monday through Friday, and they would say either you are required to test today or do not test today. So then I would always call as early as I could in the morning, so that if it said you are required to test today, I knew that I needed to drink twice as much water as what I, normally would. And of course, keep taking those vitamins to add the yellow color back in. But what you want to do, since you're going to be on those days where you're going to have to be required to test, assuming that you don't have a card or whatever, assuming that you're having to do this to your body to pass, you're going to want to be taking electrolytes pretty regularly, because you can make yourself ill by having too much water, essentially. Too much of anything is a bad thing. So, again, I'm not a doctor, none of this is medical advice, and you're going to do whatever you want to do to your own body, but I'm just sharing my experience and the things that I did when I was having to go through this, and how I got through it without ever getting rearrested or, violated on probation or pre-trials. So the biggest thing, again, is that medical card. Staying hydrated regularly, so it's just a regular thing for you, and whenever you say that to them, they're still not going to believe you, but at least you're for real. And it helps increase the odds of you passing should you get a surprise test. And at the end of the day, if you get a surprise test and you're about to fail, it is better to fail for that diluted sample than it is for actual substances, because regardless, you failed. But if you fail for a dilute sample, typically, as long as it's not happening often, you just bought yourself like another test. Because usually, again, if you're not often failing for a diluted sample, they're just gonna tell you to come back in and retest. So that buys you a bit more time to hopefully stop using, if you can, ideally. I know it's easier said than done, but ideally that buys you enough time to get yourself clean, stop using, because again, most substances are out of your stuff in 72 hours, like 3 days to a week tops, just depending on your body fat percentage, how active you are, how hydrated you stay, tons of other factors. Also your tolerance, how often you use, what you're using, all that good stuff. Now with weed, of course, it's a completely different story. For most people, it stays in your system for at least 3 to 4 weeks. Some people even upwards to 6 weeks in your stuff. So that's why, especially with substances like weed, I really just, again, recommend getting a card if you are able to, wherever you live. So those are really all of the tips and tricks that I can give for monitored testing for passing. Just staying real hydrated, trying to keep your stuff essentially diluted to the level of being water, like to where it's clear, and then trying your best to get that yellow back into it so you're not failing for a diluted sample, which really, again, it's going to be those vitamins and those electrolytes, and staying on top of that as well. Now, for the second part of the video, which is going to be for unmonitored testing, which is typically for employment purposes, employment that is not federal, that is. Go to your nearest smoke shop, and if you go to your nearest smoke shop, you should be able to find fake stuff or fetish stuff. It's fake pee, fetish pee, that's what it is. The brand that you really want to look for is called Quick Fix. So Quick Fix is honestly the best company to use. Personally have used Quick Fix, and I know a lot of people who have personally used Quick Fix fake pee to pass their employment tests, even when they've gone to labs. So labs will test like the gravity, the pH, they test a whole bunch of other stuff that the little, isn't going to be tested with the regular dipsticks that people can buy on Amazon and stuff, like what they use in doctor's offices and for pretrials, probation, rehabs, etc. So whenever they're testing pee in a lab, they have a control sample, and the control sample isn't some random person's actual pee, it's fake pee. So they use fake pee as a control in most labs, and the stuff that they use as the control, fake pee in labs, is what's in Quick Fix. So Quick Fix fake pee is the best to use for lab tests, which is most employment tests. So yeah, if you're going to be taking an employment job-related test, you're not going to be monitored, most likely, assuming it's not a federal position. Again, I'm going to say this, because it's understandable to question that, to be real worried about it or whatever, but yeah, go get you some Quick Fix from your local smoke shop. There's no need to put yourself through diluting your urine and diluting your pee, your stuff, and drinking a whole bunch of water and whatnot, and trying to worry about balancing vitamins and minerals and electrolytes if you don't have to. Don't put your body through all that if you don't even need to, That's pretty much the gist of today's video, just how to pass each kind of testing, both monitored and unmonitored. I hope this helps somebody. I know I wish I had real simple, easy to digest information back when I was going through all this. And I've, again, since all my previous videos on testing over the years on this channel, I've learned a whole lot more. I've gained a better understanding of why certain things work and how they work, and that combined with my experience through the whole process of going through pretrials, probation, going through different jobs and whatnot, and having to pass tests for those, yada yada. So again, I hope that this video helped some of y'all, and please don't hesitate to leave a like, drop a comment, and consider subscribing. It helped me out quite a lot, and it would be really, really appreciated. Remember, if you can't be good, you better be good at it, and I love y'all.